I would like return the van and then go rent a new van and then just redo the whole the whole setup. You know, I had an air mattress, like the blow up ones from Walmart. I had some blankets, you know, some of my shoes, and like I was rolling. It was just me, the van, and my skateboard. That winter, I was just like, yeah, yo, like this is my new thing, like skateboarding and snowboarding, you know? And then from there, my life just like switched over.
All right, welcome on, everybody. Welcome into a brand new episode of the Culture Path Experience. I am your host, Reggie Chapman, alongside our guest for the day, Gershon. Welcome into the show, man. Get six in the building, baby.
Yeah, there we go. The kid six. Amen, amen. Pleasure to be here, guys. Super excited.
Well, welcome in, man, and just thank you for the opportunity to be able to talk to you, man. You hail from Long Island, New York, East Coast kid in the building. So it's funny that you're somebody that's kind of an outdoorsy person if you're from Long Island and from that side of the country, man. Can you tell me about your story? How did you kind of get into it? If you guys follow Gershon on Instagram, you can see a lot of his stuff. He does a lot of snowboarding, skateboarding, and he loves giving back to his community, man. How did you end up getting into sports like that as a black man in that area?
Yeah, so you know, backstory, my parents, I'm first generation American. So my parents hail from the country of Haiti. It's close to the Dominican Republic. They came here when they was like teenagers. They bought a house on Long Island. I got really lucky. And I've been there since. So growing up, I think they just try to be very traditional. And I thought that was like boring, I guess. So it made me do a lot of like outside activities because I just never wanted to be home. You know, like after school, I was always looking for a way to like not be home, you know? So it started off playing like football, like any other kid from New York. You know, you play football, you try basketball. I'm a short kid. Like I stand right now like 5'7", 5'6", 5'7".
Come on now.
But so like football, basketball, it just wasn't my thing, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't like a star athlete there. And funny enough, when I got to middle school, I ended up playing lacrosse. And I don't know if you know anything about lacrosse, but lacrosse is also a very like white dominated sport, especially here in Long Island. It's a hotbed here, they would call it. So I grew up playing lacrosse. I was like one of the really good kids on my team. I actually became lacrosse captain in high school. And from there it kind of like set me apart, and I feel like I knew I was like different, if that made sense. Because like I had this one game, and this was crazy. This was like one game in middle school, and I'm like the black kid on the team, you know what I mean? We're versing these white schools, and I remember one of the coach was like, yo, watch out for that black kid number 6, like, you know, because that was my lacrosse number. And that's actually why my Instagram is the kid 6. But you know, so like from there on, I just knew I stood out on the field, if that made sense. Whether it was for my color, for my skin, my skills, I mean, I just knew I stood out, and I enjoyed it, you know, because every other sport, I was just basic, or like I was a bench player, you know. So having that like sport that really like made me feel special was so important. I ended up playing lacrosse in college, and I went out to Boston. I played Division 3 lacrosse for the school. It's called New England College. For anybody, go Grims. I had a teammate on my team who had a skateboard, and he was a skater kid. And I was like, yo, I used to skateboard as a kid. I think every kid tried at least once or twice, right? And I told him I used to skateboard. I wasn't never that good, but he motivated me to kind of like skateboard with him. So after practice, after lacrosse practice, we would always go and skateboard. And I thought that was a great way to stay in shape, and I really enjoyed it. You know, so going to that small school in New Hampshire, wasn't a lot to do outside of practice. So after practice, we just went right to the skate park. And then that winter, pretty much that winter, this was my second year of college playing lacrosse. You know, I was skating a little bit. That winter, he's like, yo, let's go snowboarding. Like, we're all going snowboarding. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know how to snowboard. Never been to the mountain. I don't know nothing about it. Right? I don't even own a snowboard. I found out that year that the college was 5 minutes away from the ski resorts. So I got like really lucky. It was like right in our backyard. Turns out everybody who went to my college got free season passes to go to the mountains. And I was like, oh my God, like, no wonder the tuition's so high, right? But I was like, yo, it's a part of the tuition. I'm already paying for it. I might as well go, right? I had a friend who was on the ski team. His name was Caleb. Funny enough, I was a YouTuber in college. So like I make videos right now about skateboarding, like snowboarding, but I originally started my like YouTube, like Instagram career with lacrosse. And I used to make lacrosse like trick shot videos. I used to make lacrosse stringing tutorials on how to like string your sticks and stuff. So I would be vlogging, and I had a friend who was also a YouTuber in the college. So we made a YouTube video of him teaching me how to ski because he was a skier. So I went skiing with him because he had all the clothes and whatnot, and he was like, "I could only teach you how to ski." So I went skiing with him for 3 days, and after the 3 days, I'm like, "Yo, I know I want to snowboard. Like I don't want to ski." He's like, "I can't teach you." I'm like, "All right, that's okay. I'm just gonna go by myself. I'll figure it out." I ended up figuring it out. Like that day I went, I fell a bunch of times, but
Yep.
I was like, this is what I want to do for sure. Like, it's kind of like skateboarding. I was like, they're pretty much the same thing, skateboarding, snowboarding. If I get good at one, it's going to help me get good at the other. So like just really forced myself to learn and picked it up relatively quick. I think within the first year I was like already hitting boxes and like rails because of that skateboarding background, you know what I mean? But I was still playing lacrosse at the college. So I was only doing it after practice, only a little bit, you know what I mean? And then COVID happened. COVID happened. All sports teams kind of got shut down during that year. And that's when I was just like, you know what? I'm going to skateboard more. Like, I'm going to skateboard more. They kicked us all out of school. I ended up flying to Portland, Oregon with my skateboard because I knew someone out there. And I was just going to like hang out with them. It was
Yeah.
actually an ex girlfriend of mine. But I was going to go hang out with her in Portland, Oregon during COVID. I go out there. I ended up big situation, but I ended up living in a van because I had nowhere to live because I just flew out there randomly. And it was just me, the van, and my skateboard. So I would just like skateboard everywhere around the town, and I had nothing to do. So I would just go to the skate park all the time out there. And that really made me a really good skateboarder. So then when by the time COVID kind of like started dying down, everybody was going back into school that winter. I was just like, yeah, yo, like this is my new thing, like skateboarding and snowboarding, you know? And then from there, my life just like switched over, which is crazy.
That is crazy. Well, that's, I mean, the a wild journey, man. I mean, wait, so I feel there's a lot we have to kind of get into with this, right? Because the funny, and I don't really even know where to start. I mean, for example, right, you mentioned going skiing that first time. What was it about skiing that you're like, yeah, I can't do this. Skateboard or snowboarding is more for me. Where did you kind of make that switch? What was the issue?
Um, Honestly, like there wasn't really no issue. Like I was a good skier. Like I could still ski to this day. But I think it was just because that I was already skateboarding that I was like, I just want to go snowboarding. Like I think snowboarding is way cooler than skiing. But like that was the only thing that my friend was able to teach me. And I tell people now to this day, I'm like, I think ski. They say skiing is easier but harder to master. Snowboarding is easy to master but hard to start, so I think just getting your bearings on the snow with the skis first kind of gives you a sense of like how the snow slides, the different bumps that you might face like when you go to the mountains. And then so those 3 days of skiing really helped me when I switched over to snowboarding. The hardest thing about snowboarding is like kind of like turning because you're like leaning, but you don't want to lean too much. You kind of want to use your
Yeah.
edges so you get better over time. But those first 3 days are definitely struggling and tiresome. Your
Well,
butt
see, but
definitely.
that's what I wonder though is like because when I started doing snowboarding and skiing, right, I was trying to figure out which I wanted, and I was easy. I was able to kind of do both because I had done like, a little bit of skateboarding here and there. For you, you mentioned it was trying to figure it out, a lot of falling, of course. What was maybe the hardest part for you making that transition from being a skateboarder to being a snowboarder?
Honestly, I think the hardest part is the accessibility. I got really lucky that the mountain was like right behind our college. But my first 2 years of college, I did not have a car, so I wasn't able to go snowboarding if it wasn't for like other people. And then like you kind of need like you could get away with having like a small car or whatnot, but you kind of need like a good car, a good reliable car. Like my car, like the car I had my third year of college was like super sketchy. I was not driving into the mountain. I would have got stuck. I didn't want to deal with it. Driving in the winter is scary in itself. Now I like drive to the mountain all the time. Like it's no big deal. But when I first started, it was scary. So I think just like getting there getting there and like the gear, of course, I was using rentals my first 2 years, so I wasted a lot of money for sure.
I'm curious. You mentioned you at some point you were like living in your car as well, man. I mean, is that what does that kind of show about you? Your want and need to kind of just be out and be amongst and be and doing this sort of thing.
Yeah, man. So the first time I ever like I guess lived in a car, obviously was out in Portland, Oregon. I was working here in New York at McDonald's during COVID. And like if you ever work at McDonald's or even any restaurant during COVID, you considered yourself an essential worker. So they didn't give you like checks. You wasn't getting no checks. You was just showing up to work every single day, putting your life at risk. So I was like, you know what? Why not, man? Like, let me just leave. Like, let me get out of here. You know what I mean? And at the time, Portland, Oregon was like a cool spot. They got skateboarding, they had cannabis, they had all this stuff that, was just like free willy nilly. So I was like, let me go over there. I went over there, but I ended up getting scammed out of my housing situation. So, like, just thinking on my feet, I was only 21 at the time, so I wasn't old enough to rent a car. So, U-Haul, man, $20 a day, just rented a U-Haul van at the age of 20, and I was like, yeah, I'm moving around the block. And then I just like stayed in it, and I would stay in it. I didn't drive it a lot because they charge by miles. So I was just skateboarding everywhere, taking public transit. And it was honestly the best summer of my life. Like, I think that was the best summer of my life for sure.
Did they not? Do they not catch you? Like, how can you get away with doing that for an entire summer?
Yeah. So it was a little tedious, but my first week there, I rented that van. I was trying to make friends, I go to the skate park, I would talk to people, just see like what I can do for myself. I made a friend and I told him my situation, of course, and I'm like, yo, I gotta return this U-Haul van in 2 days. I'm like, yo, you think I could like put my stuff in your backyard so I could return the van and pick up another van? So that's kind of what I did. So every week I would like return the van and then go rent a new van and then just redo the whole setup. I had an air mattress, like the blow up ones from Walmart. I had some blankets, some of my shoes, and like I was rolling.
That is fascinating. That is so cool, man. And so you end up doing that for an entire summer, and continue just, I guess, living life. And what does that say about your, I guess, your personality, your tenacity, and maybe what are some of the lessons that you learned from that have, I guess, carried over to what you do now with the snowboarding and skiing, or snowboarding and skateboarding and stuff like that? Now that you're in a more stable living situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just always staying positive, like I think that's like the key, man. So like van life could be like a little lonely at times too, but then you got to always tell yourself you're never really alone. You're just choosing to be alone. You know what I mean? Because like there's like so many people outside. You could just go talk to like the other homeless guy on the street and have a friend if you really wanted to. You know what I mean? So I think people choose to like not talk to people. But I was already like an extrovert, working at McDonald's front counter, how to talk to people. So I was just talking to people all the time, making new friends all the time. So it was like really fun. And then, you just don't tell them where you live. But now fast forward to this, I think I could relate to a lot of people, um, which is crazy because obviously in New York there's a big housing crisis. You would say a lot of people not enough housing. Like nowadays, I go to a skate park and I meet other people who kind of like live in their van, and I'm like, yo, like I've been there, done that. Like, yo, this is what you should do. You should go to U-Haul. You should rent this van. So I be shopping all the time. But I think it's just like the more experience you have just in life, the more you can connect to other people who are on different parts of their life and journey. I think it
That
definitely made me faster as well.
That is unbelievable, man. That is unbelievable. You mentioned some of the things that are maybe difficult about. I mean, once you kind of deal with that, I feel like you can really kind of do anything. But I'm sure once
Yeah.
you kind of just started when you were doing snowboarding, you're out on these mountains. Obviously, the snow is white. And, as somebody that, like you said, you mentioned your username came from playing within what was a predominantly white sport. A lot of these outdoor adventure sports don't have a lot of people that end up looking like us. What has it been like for you trying to build your community and find more people that look like you and inspire more people to look like you to get out on the slopes and really try it out?
Yeah. So obviously I was living out in New Hampshire because I was going to college. I was skateboarding out there. I was snowboarding. I was the only black kid out there in that town. Like, you know what I mean? Like legit doing that. Like I would go to skate park. Every skate park I went to when I was in college, I was like the only black kid on the court or park, you would say. And at first, like they don't really talk to you, I guess, like skateboarding, snowboarding is kind of like a you do good and you get respect type of situation. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you have a good personality, you could just talk to people. But like the main chunk of friends are gonna come based on your skill level, almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like you want to hang same skill level as you. So I think as I got better at skateboarding, it made more people want to be my friends almost, and I was like, you know what, I'll take that. Like, yeah, like they respect me for my skill, like I like they might think I suck. Like I walk in there, they're gonna look at me, they're gonna be like, oh yo, like he's probably like really bad or he's probably like not that good. And then you start skating and then they're gonna look at you, they're gonna double check you and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, like you know what, he got it. Like he got it going on. Like let me go say what's up to him. So moving back to New York, Long Island, still Long Island is a very white spot. So I used to go out to the city and I would go to New York City because I knew like that's where the brothers and sisters were, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I would go out there, I would go to like LES skate park. That's like one of the famous parks in Manhattan. But you go there, man, and it's like super diverse. They got like black pros, they got girls, transgender people just ripping. Like, you know what I mean? So when I went back to New York, I was like, okay, I could like kind of just be myself. Like I didn't need to like be so good for people to like want to talk to me. I could kind of just like be myself at that point now. And I was just doing that. And I was working as a bartender in New York for a little bit, going to the city back and forth. One time I was at the skate park and I met this girl and she was like, oh, like yeah, she brought her snowboard to the skate park. And I'm like, yo, like I snowboard too, matter of fact, but why do you have that here? Like, you know what I mean? And she was like, "Oh, like I work for a program. It's called Chill Foundation. I'm telling kids about snowboarding, but she was in a skate program." And I was like, I was only like 21 at the time, so I was like, "Oh snap! Like I skate, I snowboard too." I was like, "Yo, like let me come and talk to the kids and like hang out and I'll skate with them." So I volunteered at one of her like snowboard programs in the winter, and I was like, yo, this is so cool. Like I heard about the Chill Station, which is crazy because now I work for them. But at the time I was like, oh, Chill Station, that's a company that's under Burton Snowboard. So at the end of the day, you technically are working for Burton, but you're volunteering for Chill. So I was like, yo, like this is my way. You know what I mean? I was like, yo, this is it. I was just volunteering. I was making my videos at the time, so I was like kind of like vlogging me volunteering, and I became a volunteer and I would go to all the programs. Funny enough, at one of the programs, one of the directors of the school came up to me and was like, hey, you're so good with these kids. Do you want a job teaching these kids? And this is actually for a different organization, funny enough, but I guess at the time they was doing a collaboration with the Chill Foundation. So they offered me a job for the company. It was called Stoked. I don't know if you ever heard of Stoked organization.
Mm-mm.
It's a similar nonprofit. Teach underprivileged kids how to skateboard, snowboard, and surf. And it was developed by two folks. Actually, one named Salama Masakela. He's very like famous within the winter sports community. He does like ESPN announcing, but he was one of the founders of that organization. And I started off with them as just a coach, and I was coaching kids on how to skate. And during the winter, we would go out to Villiere Mountain up and snowboard as well.
You've been doing it all, man. I mean, what does it mean for you to give back? Because right now you've got the title of being Chill Foundation's NYC Programs Community Coordinator. To be part of this organization, you mentioned that as being your way to get kind of more into it. But why is it so important for you to be somebody that wants to give back to the community and help more young kids get into a position like yours as somebody that likes to enjoy these outdoor sports?
hmm I think like right now, what I love about chill is that it's just it's not just meant for like colored people. or like people that are, it's not mainly about color, it's just about like accessibility for kids, and I think that's so cool. In my case in particular, I was just like what they would call a unicorn, like the only black kid in the area. My goal was to kind of make more more of me's out there, if that made sense, more unicorns, because unicorns are so cool, and so I just kind of like push or motivate more kids of color, different backgrounds, to just kind of try those sports. I feel like in a lot of areas, you try skateboarding, and they're just gonna be, oh, you're trying to be white, you're trying to do this and that. It's not about color. It's more just about, hey, just try something new. What I mean? Try something that like outside the box. Your parents might not even know what this is, but go try it. That was like me with lacrosse. I have to explain to my parents what lacrosse was. You know what I mean? Because they didn't even know what that sport was, and like the gear is so expensive. I got a job at 15 years old just to like pay for like lacrosse sticks, gloves, helmet, chest pad, like all of it. You know, and it kind of just continued switching white sports, snowboard. Now I spend all my money on like snowboards and boots. But what I tell anybody nowadays is like, hey, you should get a job. So I actually got a job at a lacrosse store when I was in high school, to make it more affordable for me to play lacrosse.
Yeah.
So then when I started snowboarding, I figured the same thing. I applied at the Burton store because I was already volunteering in the program. I was like, yo, like maybe I could just apply at the store and get a job there. I was volunteering. It put me in a higher standard position in the store. So I was able to work at the Burton store in the city for a year before I even got the program coordinator role for Chill. So I was
Right.
already in the before I got that second high role.
So it was an easy transition for you, man. And what I think is really cool too is if you go on your Instagram account, you do a really, really good job of showcasing and I mean, shoot, you got brand deals going on, showcasing the volunteering you're doing. I think it's also really cool that you show your highlights, but you also show your lowlights when you're falling, whether it's on out there when you're skateboarding or when you're snowboarding, man. I mean, you mentioned the fact that you used to do YouTube, which makes a whole lot of sense now when I see your content. You got the breakdowns with the Insta 360. I think the biggest thing for me, I'm wondering now, is what keeps you going with wanting to make sure that you showcase that sort of stuff online as well. It's one thing to give back and be a part of the community and help more people, but how important is it for you to actually show it on social media and throughout the internet?
My fault. I'm just plugging in this camera.
All good.
But yeah, I think the main reason to show is just to continue to motivate. I think it motivates myself and others. That's so cool. I think a lot of people when they first start skateboarding or any of the journeys, it's all about just documenting your progression. You never know where you could be in 10, 20 years, but you just want videos to show your kids. I think it's like a time capsule. I have a little brother. He's 10 years old right now, and I just wanted him to kind of like not have the same barriers as me. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like my parents didn't bring me to cool places. Like they work very hard. They work a lot of hours during the day. They tired when they come home. So I think I just wanted to be like a cool big brother to start. And then from there, I was like, okay, like I don't have to just be a cool brother to me, but I want to be like a kind of big brother figure to like other kids who might feel the same way. And I think that's what I really love about Chill is like, like because I'm so young still, and there's a lot of other Chill workers because we're a global company, so we do programs throughout like pretty much like all the different continents. Like we're in North America, we're in South America, we're in Asia, we're in Europe. So Chill is everywhere. But for me and my story, I think I relate to the kids very well, because like I'm still young and I feel like I have a very like youthful spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I hang out with those kids, I'm like, yo, like don't think of me as like a coach, don't think of me as like a program coordinator. I'm just like your big brother here, skateboarding, snowboarding next to you. And it's like I'm gonna chirp you, we're gonna have fun, and like we're gonna get better.
That's awesome, man. Before I let you go, I think my final question is this: what can people expect from you? What is your ultimate goal? What are you trying to accomplish the rest of your way?
Yeah. I think ultimately, with everybody in like these like extreme sports or just like any sport in general, like you find a sport that you love and you just tell yourself, okay, how can I continue to do this for as long as I can and like make it affordable or like make it like friendly? Because if it's not accessible and you can't pay for it, you're not gonna do it. Like you know what I
Hmm.
mean? So just trying to find ways to continue to do it. And that's I think why social media is so important because a lot of people can make a living off of it. Just like recording their lives or like recording their own experiences. So like I think just trying to like continue to boost my own platform so that I can continue to do it for myself. And then as I'm doing it for myself, I can continue to inspire others with my story and kind of just keep bringing positive vibes. I think one thing that I always thought as a kid, and this is just like I hate to talk about like race or like, but obviously in today's world it's like it's very hard not to. But the saying like one bad apple can almost like make a whole tree look bad, you know what I mean? And I always try to be like the opposite where like okay, like let me be a good apple. Like you know what I mean? Like let me be a good apple so that way when people see us, they think that like we are like peaceful, we are happy, we are joyful. Like I love the hashtag black boy joy, black kids joy, just like positivity in our communities, because like when people see so much negativity towards us, that's all they can like connect it to. So just like being faces where like other people can think of you in a positive light so that when they go see a next person, they're like, okay, this kid is also like, they don't have like bias towards them, you know what I mean? Like you want to treat everybody equally and evenly. So like just continuing to do that and try to like create more good apples, you would say, so that when people see the tree, they think it's a really good tree and they want to continue to pick from that tree. You know what I mean? And not just look over it and shun it.
And look, I appreciate all the work that you're doing, man, in the community. It's really cool to watch. If you guys want to go watch his stuff, you can check him out at the Kid Six on Instagram. The E in the is a three, and the six is a six. It's a cool username for a cool guy, Gershon. Thank you so much for the time, man, for coming on the show.
Thank you, Reggie. I really appreciate it. I think this podcast is a beautiful thing. Inspiring, sharing voices, sharing stories. When I came across this platform, I was like, yeah, this is something I want to do. Share that story. I know you're gonna have so many other cool people on here as well. So I hopefully the audience follows you guys. And stick to what you guys are doing because it's definitely great things, and you're inspiring a lot of people just sharing these stories. For everybody here too, definitely check out the Chill Foundation. It's an amazing organization. There's so many powerful snowboarding organizations doing amazing things. So there's always ways to get involved. For example, there's Hoods to Woods. There's Chill. There's Stoked. There's the Shred Foundation. So all of those are just New York specific, but they're all out there. So if you really want it, guys, you can go get it for sure.
Stuff, man. Thank you so much for the time, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Of course, my pleasure, man. Thank you guys once again. Signing out.